Hi, everybody. Professor Denzer here. Just a quick look at a couple of concrete structures that I think are pretty interesting and might kind of stimulate you as you're beginning to design project number three. They both have this sort of arched form where the arches are in the shape of uh, parabolas or close to it anyway. And so here's a swimming pool, and you can see the structure is made up of this kind of series of parabolic arches in the kind of X direction and or left to right on your screen, and then that those are supporting a secondary structure of I guess what you might call beams, although it's a little bit difficult to see. Because there's some interior finishes there. But those appear to me to be, simple, kind of straight rectangular members highlighted in the darker blue. And then there's a structure beyond that of walls and roof planes that are really orthogonal elements, horizontal and vertical. And so the exterior form looks nothing like a parabola, but and yet you get this really interesting express structure on the interior. And so that it's just a potential kind of design strategy that you might pursue where the shape of the structure in the primary direction, the parabolas, is quite a bit different than the structural identity of the members that are running in this secondary direction. And there's probably a little bit of complexity in terms of the shape of the space on the interior and then the shape of the building on the exterior. And the next slide is really quite similar in concept, but it's a church instead of a swimming pool. It's a little bit, well, it's quite a bit taller in terms of the proportions of the space. And there's some kind of secondary spaces created along each side. But again, basically the same kind of concept in terms of an arched structure in one direction, some straight members spanning in the other direction. And all of this is exhibiting the versatility of cast in place concrete, because whatever you can build in terms of a form, you can fill it up with concrete slurry and then wait for it to cure, and that will be the shape of the structure. And because it's repetitive in each case here, you've got a bunch of these parabolic arches, and I kind of presume that they poured one at a time and then reused the formwork. They just moved it down 20 or 30 feet and did it again. There's a lot of economy to the construction in that regard. So those two images just might kind of stimulate your creative thinking as you're beginning to design. And the third slide here, I just wanted to tell you that this form is fairly, it's not common in architecture in the sense that you see these buildings all over the place, but it's semi-common, at least historically. And this form is called a catenary. It's not exactly a parabola if you are really, into the geometry of it. But it's the shape of a hanging chain, and that is a very, very efficient structural form. When you take a hanging chain and then flip it upside down, you get an arch, and all of this was was kind of understood first by the architect Gaudí in Barcelona. We get a chance to see a lot of Gaudí's work when we go on our study abroad trip. And Gaudí, in fact, used to design his buildings by making models with hanging chains and then flip it upside down to create these kinds of arches. So a little bit of history behind these parabolic arch forms that are more properly called catenaries. All right, thanks.